Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, Madam Speaker. It's great to see all our incredible members of the delegation here. I look forward to doing a full briefing with all of you soon. I know that we're scheduled, so looking forward to that. And I also look forward to seeing many, if not all of you, at our reception for members of the delegation on Tuesday of next week. I do apologize I can't stay on for this morning's presentation, but we're very honored to be hosting Governor Moore and his cabinet in Baltimore County this morning. This is the first cabinet in the community that the Governor Moore is having. So we'll be heading over to welcome the governor and his cabinet here later this morning. But I do also want to thank the team at TradePoint for coming to the delegation to give this update. Aaron Tamarchio, their executive vice president, the managing director, Carrie Doyle. I think Mark Zloty, one of the managing directors, is on or will be on. And of course, Kristen King, director of corporate affairs, formerly proudly part of Baltimore County's team, but we were sorry to see her, but we know that she's with a great team at TradePoint. I just wanted to say from our perspective, what a great partner TPA has been. We're very excited about over the last several years, we have come together to create over 12,000 jobs, and we've done it across an entire spectrum of opportunity. Everything from entry-level opportunities in warehousing to maritime, logistics, distribution, manufacturing. And as someone who grew up in Southeast Baltimore County and saw the demise of the steel mill and what that meant, to see steel coming back and manufacturing to come back in addition to the other opportunities, it's just very exciting for me. So this is a direct benefit to our national supply chain. Excited to see all the world-class businesses that identify Baltimore County and TradePoint as a place that's viable to do business. McCormick, Amazon, BMW, FedEx, Under Armour, Volkswagen. It's a long list, but we're excited both about what we've done and the opportunity to grow jobs in the future. Partnership has been key to that. Back in October, we penned a deal with the city, the county, and the state to help pave the way for a new terminal at Coke Point, which will help with incredible environmental remediation, but also create incredible amount of new high-quality, high-paying jobs. We're finalizing our agreement with TPA to make 28 acres of land available for the Sparrows Point Park, another great gem that's going to be available for both workers and the community there. So, and then lastly, thinking about workforce, we are excited that TPA is home to Ørsted's offshore wind, not only the staging area to help facilitate the entire needs of the East Coast supply chain, but also that we partner with the state and others to win the Good Jobs Challenge from the US EDA. So this is really a great workforce development program that focuses on equity, innovation, and rebuilding our regional economy. So really excited about both what we've done, but also there's a lot of good stuff ahead. So with that, I hope you all have a great briefing and great delegation meeting. Look forward to seeing everybody on Tuesday, and then later for our full briefing from county government. With that, I think I'm turning things over to Mr. Tamarchio.
Thank you, Mr. County Executive. I appreciate that. I want to know how Amanda Carr hacked my computer and got my speech and gave it to the county executive. Nice. There's very little else I can add to that, except that we all acknowledge the great success story that TradePoint Atlantic is for us right now. And with that, Mr. Tamarchio, if you'd like to talk to us a little bit about it.
Great. Thank you very much, County Executive. Thank you for the very warm introduction. Chairman Ebersol, appreciate the opportunity to be able to present to the Baltimore County delegation, as we have traditionally done over the years. We had a little bit of a hiatus with COVID, but it's great to be back before the delegation. And Madam Speaker, thank you for joining us today as well. And obviously, we're very privileged to have you part of the Baltimore County delegation as well. Aaron Tamarchio, Executive Vice President of Corporate Affairs here, joined with Kristen King, and my colleague Carrie Doyle, our Managing Director, will be giving an update on what's been happening at Sparrows Point. So I'm going to share my screen. We have a little bit of a presentation, but the host disabled my screen sharing. So once that happens, once I get the screen sharing, I'll be able to do that and give you an update. But without the presentation, I'll just go forward and just let you know that Sparrows Point has indeed emerged from the ashes from the former steel mill. And we have been hard at work over the last 8 years, building out about 14 million square feet of new industrial complex with a very diverse array of tenants. And with that diverse array of tenants, we now have well over 12,000 jobs and growing. And it'd be important to point out, when we first came to the delegation in early 2016 and talked about the economic opportunity, we thought at full build out, we would have about 10,000 direct jobs here at Trade Point Atlantic, with another 7 induced into the community. We are about maybe 70% committed with our land and the facilities here, and we've already exceeded that 10,000. And we do believe, with the remaining balance of the land to be developed and the opportunity of the container terminal, we will far exceed that 12,000. I am going to turn it over to my colleague, Carrie Doyle, who just will go through some of these steps. And I just got permission to the screen share. And
we're learning our tech stuff here a little bit.
All right, there you go.
I went off camera. You can tell that I was like, come on. So good on Justin for getting it up, figuring it out so quickly, and Katie.
Oh, good. No worries. And as you know, this is just some great photos. And this is what Sparrows Point looked like several years ago. It was quite a mess. 17 million square feet of industrial complex that needed to be remediated and cleaned up. And this is just some samples of what we've encountered over the last couple of years. And this is a great shot showing, the transition from the steel mill in 1995 to where it is today, overlaid with our master plan. And we will all admit here at Trade Point Atlantic that master plan has changed many times over the years. And in fact, it changes quite frequently still today. I'm going to turn it over to Carrie Doyle, who will kind of talk a little bit about the overall accomplishments here at Trade Point, and we'll go in a little bit into detail on some of our tenants and then the container terminal opportunity, which is very exciting for the Port of Baltimore. And then I'll come back and speak with you a little bit about our workforce demographics. We've got some great data to share with you about where our workforce is coming from and the communities that are participating, which I think we have a great story to tell. And then also some of our partnerships that we have with the community. So I'm going to turn this over now to my colleague, Carrie Doyle. Carrie?
Thanks, Aaron. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Perfect. Hey, can you go back a couple slides real quick to some of those photos of what the facility once looked like?
Yeah.
I just want to touch on something real quick, because we're about to talk about the future of Trade Point and where we're going. Now that we're 8 years in and we've developed 13.5 million square feet and created 12,000 jobs and brought a pretty diverse set of customers and tenants and opportunities, as well as jobs, to the Sparrows Point Peninsula. But what I think is important about this slide, and it really doesn't do it justice, and I know many members of the delegation, are intimately familiar with what used to be here. But for those who aren't, looking at some of those pictures, I mean, this was 5 square miles, 17 million square feet of steelmaking assets and legacy assets that were, left dormant and in a state of disarray. You can see some of the water ponding, the basements, the sub basements, and some of the things that we had to deal with and challenges in really getting this off the ground. And I was part of the team in 2014 that underwrote and structured the transaction to purchase the property, and there weren't many people who were willing to, really take on the challenge and really realize the vision, but also understand the timeline that this would take, as well as the capital intensity that something like this would take to really transform and reform and turn around from 100 years of steel making and over 100 years of contamination. So I just want to set the stage, with that quick backdrop as we kind of talk about where we're at today, which is markedly different than where we were 8 years ago. And we always joke here that nothing ever moves fast enough. The days go by, pretty slow, but the years go by pretty quick. And in 8 short years, we've been able to, really reposition the entirety of the 3,300 acre peninsula and put, what, like Aaron said, we use kind of 60 to 70% complete. But we put over the majority of the property back into productive use and economic generating activity. I think just the backdrop of some of the things we were able to do in the last 8 years were we have sort of fully demolished the 17 million square feet of steelmaking assets. And with that, the vast majority of which, I think it's about 95 or 96% of those assets, the steel, the concrete, the brick, was all recycled and reused and repositioned in the redevelopment, but also in the steelmaking process, in shipping out the scrap steel to Nucor to be melted down in their mini mills and to become steel again. So it was not just a demolition effort, but it was really a recycling effort in conjunction with our remediation efforts, which, some of our marquee projects on the remediation side were, when you think about the Tin Mill Canal, that was where the steel mill free-dumped rolling oils and other sorts of liquid contaminants right into the canal that fed the Chesapeake Bay. And we completely dredged that canal, dredged it, lined it, rip-wrapped it, and completely remediated that, a few years back. And that was a pretty significant undertaking, and a project that we happened to do on the wettest year on record. So it by a factor of 2, I think. So it to drain that canal probably cost us about 2 times what we were anticipating. But as we kind of continue the repositioning at Trade Point, we've also even since 2009, so since the getting into sort of the COVID slowdown and shutdown with regards to the economy, we actually started prepping pads and looked at the market and said, this could be a really interesting opportunity for logistics and warehouse space and industrial related users and to fulfill their needs. And we've actually developed over 10 million square feet since 2019. So we've been incredibly active even the last 3 years. And then in addition to that, I think a couple things that are worth noting is there's been over $2 billion of private investment in Trade Point. And I think 8 years ago, when I was stepping foot on sort of a dilapidated steel mill with a lot of environmental contamination, I didn't envision the pace of the capital investment, eclipsing $2 billion in such a short period of time. And I think that's a testament to not only the opportunity at Trade Point, but also with the Sparrows Point Peninsula, but with key stakeholders, the community, local, state government, all working together to realize a vision and to sort of move in concert, and that's resonated in the marketplace, and that's one of the primary reasons we've been able to transact with so many world-class tenants. So this is real quickly, we like to kind of look at what we do as industry in motion, where we build it, we load it, we move it. And I think most people are familiar with the fact that we have developed 13.5 million square feet of Class A industrial facilities, and we plan to develop pretty close to 5 million additional square feet. And we have a team that oversees those development activities. But in addition to that, we've expanded our company and our operations into the terminals business. So we have fully integrated, with our development company, the terminals and operating the deep water ports. So we do the stevedoring for vessel loading and unloading. We also do the positioning of products into warehouses or laydown areas, and then we do the loadout onto trucks as well as onto rail. So we offer the customer a full continuum of services, whether it's their real estate needs, whether it's their logistics needs from a water perspective, whether it's their logistics needs from a rail perspective. In the fact that we operate a Class 3 short line railroad, we're able to connect the dots a little differently than most and offer our customers a holistic solution to their logistics needs and their cargo movement needs. And here's a really good example of the diversity of customers that we have, some of which just are here mainly to utilize Class A industrial real estate and provide distribution / fulfillment related needs to their customers and their supply chain. And when we think of those types of users, I would say that kind of looks like an Under Armour or an Amazon for the most part. And then we've got others who are key users of Seagirt Marine Terminal and the existing container terminal in the Port of Baltimore, which would be your Floor & Decors of the world that import those containers and then dray them over to the warehouse here to be sent out to their retail centers. And similarly in that category, I would say McCormick. And then you've got a whole different end of the spectrum where you look at Ørsted and US Wind in looking at facilitating the offshore wind development off the East Coast of the United States, who are looking to set up manufacturing facilities here and not only leverage the real estate, the manufacturing, and the important offering that we have from a robustness of electricity and water perspective, but also leveraging our port infrastructure, which we've rehabilitated completely to be able to support the offshore wind industry and allow for the movement of 1,000-ton components, if not greater loads, which are some pretty big, heavy, pieces of equipment that are going to be vital for getting those turbines off the East Coast of the United States. And with that comes sort of the multimodal connectivity. And that's really what we set out to do, was be a global multimodal logistics hub. And that's entirely predicated on the fact that we've got an interstate running right through the middle of the property. When you think about 695 with dedicated on-ramps and off-ramps and great access from the site to 695. But in addition to that, we've got about 65 miles of Class 1 rail network, which connects to both 65 miles of rail network that connects to both Class 1 railroads. So to have the flexibility to connect to Norfolk Southern and CSX is something that our customers find extremely beneficial and allows them to keep costs and to go engage in price discovery and keep their costs down from an operations perspective. And then, of course, the deep water berths are important because those deep water berths are the access to the international market. And what we've done in redeveloping our deep water berths is we provided ourselves the opportunity to touch every different type of cargo space. So we can import dry bulk material, we can export break bulk material, we can import automobiles, we can do liquid bulk activity, project cargo activity, and now with the announcement and partnership with Mediterranean Shipping Company, in 5 short years, maybe 6, we'll be able to do container activity right here at Trade Point Atlantic, which makes this the most diverse, global logistics facility anywhere in the country. To be able to do all those different activities and service all those different cargo types and customer types in one place hasn't been seen before in this country, and we're really excited about the prospects and the opportunities and the offshoots that are going to come from that. And this next slide just gives you a bit of an overview and an aerial of the infrastructure that we have in place. In the lower picture on the slide is one of the newer LNG ro-ro vessels that's bringing in either BMW or Volkswagen automobiles into the port. And then the top left is an example of one of our break bulk vessels, and then some of the logistics related warehouses that we have adjacent to that. And what we're able to do with these assets is provide all sorts of services, whether it's inventory management, foreign trade zone operations, loading, discharging, storage solutions. We're able to work with our customers, whatever their logistics needs are. We're able to provide that through a single point of contact and a single sort of commercial transaction, which if they were to do this anywhere else, they would have to deal with anywhere from 3 to 6 different counterparties to put in a similar type of solution. With this, one of our major initiatives going back to 7 years ago was to try to support the offshore wind industry. And we realized that Maryland should be a significant player in this and should be, on the East Coast, there are going to be hubs of economic activity and manufacturing as it relates to the wind industry. And right now we have plans with US Wind to put in place a monopile manufacturing facility where we'll be making the monopiles right here at Trade Point. And then with Ørsted, we're going to be doing hopefully tower manufacturing as well as secondary steel with them, which speaks to the tower sections that the turbines sit on top of. So again, sort of that heavy industrial manufacturing related use, that this property in this entire region is accustomed to. And then I think even more interesting beyond that is we've gotten significant interest from cable manufacturing facilities in looking at this site in manufacturing the undersea cables that take the electricity generated by the turbines and convey that to landside substations. So those are some exciting opportunities that we're really looking to capitalize on in the next 2 to 3 years here. This next slide really highlights the strategic partnership that we've entered into with Mediterranean Shipping Company and their terminal operating arm, Terminal Investment Limited. So this is a unique opportunity, and MSC isn't unlike many of the other global shippers. They're the largest one. They're the largest user of the Port of Baltimore as we sit here today. And like many other global shippers, they're looking to control their own destiny. And where the Port of Baltimore today is a bit of a monopoly, given the concession with Ports America that's in place, MSC is looking for opportunities to control their own destiny and have a stake in the terminal operations. They have a partnership in Newark Container Terminal, as well as they're building a facility in New Orleans, and they have numerous other facilities like LA Long Beach. And from our standpoint, they were looking at doing a deal with potentially Virginia or North Carolina to shift the majority of their Port of Baltimore related cargo to a facility in which they had an ownership interest in and they could control their own destiny. And we saw the opportunity to partner with them and to lock them in exclusively in the Port of Baltimore for the next century. So that's a pretty significant commitment, and they share our long-term vision, and we really believe that allows us to maximize both the state and federal investments in the Howard Street Tunnel and allowing the Port of Baltimore to double stack and to move containers most efficient on the East Coast to the Midwest of the United States. So we're really excited about the prospects to work with MSC and have hit the ground running with regards to most importantly, designing the container terminal, but with putting a container terminal in place, we'll be doing a significant amount of dredging, and with that, we'll be working on a dredge material containment facility off of the west side of what we call Coke Point, which will be imperative to the container terminal itself. But what it also does is the EPA has recognized that because of the legacy contamination of the steel mill, that area on the west side of Coke Point offshore needs to be remediated or capped in some way. And what this container terminal, or what this dredge material containment facility does, is provide the cap and the environmental solution, to deal with the legacy contamination that is on the water bottoms off the west side of Coke Point. So it serves the purpose for the container terminal, but it also provides a pretty elegant environmental solution at the same time for the EPA and the MDE. So with this, we can talk a little bit more about the demographics of Trade Point and what we're seeing on the jobs and the connectivity side of the equation. But as we sit here today, we've got nearly 16,000 people coming to work in some way, shape, or form at Trade Point. We like to use 12,000 direct jobs, but there's also construction workers, trucking activity, and service providers that are on site day in and day out that make up the difference between that 12,000 and the 16,000 that we're kind of seeing on a daily basis. And these facilities are operating around the clock. So it's a pretty active place, whether you come here on a Monday morning or a Saturday afternoon. And what we've seen is, from an employment perspective, we've been tracking the activity, the commute times, as well as just trying to ensure that we've got the appropriate access for the workforce. And that's of huge importance to us and to our customers. And the local link 63 and the express link 163 through the MTA has been one of the biggest success stories, I think, in public transportation, probably within the state of Maryland, but I think you'd be hard pressed to find something more successful on the East Coast United States. So that's been a really great program that's helped us draw from Baltimore City and the surrounding area, with folks that were spending an hour and a half plus one way to get to work and to get home at night. We've really cut that time down, and this has been a huge partnership and a huge success, working with MTA on that.
So Mr. Doyle, we have an agenda after this, and I want to make sure that members have time to ask a few questions. So
yeah.
If you could, I don't want to steal away your great graphics here, but I was hoping maybe we could you could certainly summarize. I don't want to stop you, but I would like to make sure they have some time to talk a little bit.
No worries.
Sure. I think we're pretty close to getting to the end here, and we'd love to get some questions and have more of an iterative conversation.
Good. Well, do a conclusion. I don't want to stop you dead in your tracks. Oh, you're 63
no
miles.
worries.
You're 63 miles of track. I don't want to stop you in the middle of that. So, finish up.
I'm going to hand it off to Aaron for the last two.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. And just, what does all the data mean that we've collected? And we've been able to geographically disperse the data into the Baltimore region. And this was data that was collected in 2021 that shows where the workforce is coming from. The darker the blue, the higher the concentration of workforce coming from those communities. But we collected the same data, around the same time in 2022. And we saw a change in workforce demographics, where we were picking up a little bit more participation on the west side of Baltimore City and Baltimore County. That's where these colors come from. The darker the green, the higher of increase of labor participation we got from those communities. And that was with a 7% increase in workforce altogether. And how did that happen? Public transportation. So this is just a great kind of imagery to show when we replaced public transportation, we had an uptick in participation from the communities surrounding that transportation node. And you can see here the West Baltimore MARC train station over here, and then the reconfiguration of local link 63 in Gardenville. But again, we're continuing to track this data. This helps inform us to help inform you on good public policy, but also it helps us tell a really good labor story to our tenants. And there's the 163-63. And I'll just, go forward with, we've done a lot of great things in the community, and hopefully you all have been able to visit the BMI and see the Sparrows Point Legacy exhibit there that we worked in partnership with the BMI. And then we're looking forward to working with the county executive and his team on the development of Sparrows Point Park. And with that, just two things to put on your radar screen. We are before the General Assembly again this year to extend the sales and use tax exemption that the General Assembly was so kind to be able to extend to us in 2016. That really helped fuel the investment and helped TradePoint stand kind of out a little bit from the rest of our peers in other states to encourage and attract the type of investment that we needed here at Sparrows Point. And this 10-year extension will really help facilitate the next major phase of development that Carrie had talked about. And we're happy to talk to you all more directly about this particular bill, both that's been cross-filed in the Senate and the House on this matter. So, and that's it for us.
Thank you very much. And we have a healthy smattering of interested parties. I'm going to go in the order that I saw them come up. I do want to say that there are two of them are going to actually ask a question. We do have a couple of senators here with us, a trio of senators. I have Senator Brooks and Senator Salling and Senator Hedeman. I haven't checked the roll recently to see if anybody else popped on, but we'll catch them if they did. Thank you all for joining us. Delegate Ruth, a question.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And most of my question was answered because I was going to ask about transit, because then you mentioned the bus lines. For my constituents on the west side of Baltimore County to get to those 12,000 jobs at TradePoint Atlantic, the bus lines are great, but it would be even better to have some kind of rail or bus rapid transit. And I just wondered if you'd, had any conversations with MTA about that at all. I don't think any of the East-West corridor study alternatives ran to Trade Point Atlantic, for example, and I think that's a missed opportunity if we build an East-West corridor and, don't go to Trade Point Atlantic, and just wondered your thoughts on that. Thank you.
You're absolutely right. We've been a part of conversations both at the Baltimore Metropolitan Council, and in fact, I was able to serve on Governor Westmore's transportation transition team, and we've been putting forward these ideas of the better East-West connection, and not only just to Trade Point, but to the Port of Baltimore in general. There's a tremendous amount of jobs that are being created as a result of the growth at the port, and being able to connect communities to the port area more directly, I think is very important. So these were all things that we've been advocating for, and appreciate your attention to that as well.
Thank you so much. And if I can do anything to help, that please don't hesitate to reach out. And thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you, Delegate Ruth. Senator Salling.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's always a joy to see the hard work that Trade Point Atlantic is doing with the good people like Aaron Tamarchio and Carrie. They are, the best thing about this group is they're so transparent, and the work that they have done and what they continue to do with the community. I wish we could have a Trade Point Atlantic throughout our state. Their example is just unbelievable. They work now, and the port works with them, but they work with the port. A lot of people, they don't know that we have the most RoRo, which is roll-on roll-off vehicles that come off in our area than anywhere in the nation. And they do an unbelievable job. Of course, they need more workers, and that's something that I know we've been working on for years now. But I tell you, it's just amazing the things that they have done and what they continue to do. They meet with the community at least twice a year, and they have an open forum. They talk with them. They let them know everything. And they always get with us with their concerns. And I tell you, it's just amazing. And if we ever, as a delegation, I think we've gone there once or twice, but as you know, I'm very selfish because it's in my district, but if we ever have the opportunity, I believe our delegation needs to go back down there again and just check out the great things that are going on. And I think I'm right, Aaron. I think we're keeping the star on that for all year. Is that true?
The star's up, but it's not lit all year. We still have just a tradition of doing it around the holidays. Just like we did at the steel mill.
Thank you, Senator Salling, for your question.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sure Mr. Tamarchio appreciates your help with his presentation there.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Senator Hedelman.
Thanks so much, Mr. Chairman. Sorry, I'm not on camera, but I'm in transit, so I want to be safe. I just want to say, I was elected in 14 and 15, sort of right as you guys were getting off the ground. And like Senator Salling said, I think I've been out there at least twice. And to watch the transformation over these last 8 or so years has been incredible, what you all have done. And I just, I would love to sit down with you at some point to kind of hear about more intimately about the evolution and how closely you've worked with community and businesses, et cetera. Could you please send us that map of where your workers are coming from and the changes? I would love to look at that more closely, especially to see how it's changed. And I just want to say congratulations. I know Senator Salling has a bill, and our committees looked at that, and just anything I can do to help. So I'm just very excited. Congrats. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And that's a great request. I don't know, Aaron, if you'd be willing to share the entire PowerPoint. If you share it with Justin, who you've been communicating with about coming, we'll make sure that he disseminates that to both delegations so they can scroll through it a little more leisurely and read some of the great statistics you have there.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Delegate Naraki.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it. Aaron, always great to see you. Really appreciate all the work that Trade Point is doing and that you're doing. It's a really specific question in my district, but I think it has an impact on Trade Point. So in my district right now, there's about 10 million square feet of new warehouse space proposed. between all, a bunch of different parcels of land that have opened up here recently. Just curious your thoughts as to, would that be complementary to TradePoint? Could that hurt TradePoint? I want to make sure that we're not doing anything to hurt the success story that is TradePoint Atlantic right now. So just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that.
So I'll turn it over to our market expert, Carrie Doyle.
That's fair.
Yeah, no, it's a really good question, and yeah, I can't speak to the specific of exactly what the 10 million square feet is that's planned, but
And my district, Carrie, is Middle River, by the way. Just so you know where I'm at.
Perfect.
Close to TradePoint. Sorry.
Sure, absolutely, and I will say probably on a micro level, on maybe a building by building, let's just say a 500,000 square foot building here or there, we might be competing, but on a macro level, I think it's building a more robust, supply chain and logistics solution for customers, network, and allowing for, if we're going to move containers through the Port of Baltimore, which we are primed to do, and we should be one of the primary container ports on the East Coast United States, which we haven't been because of the double stacking issue. We are going to need warehouse space for those boxes to come, to get transloaded, to get put on rail cars, or get distributed to the consumer. So I guess that's a roundabout way of saying, it's competitive on a micro level, but on a macro level, it's good for the entire region. It's good for us, and it's nice to have a robust and more resilient supply chain. Sure,
thank you. And Aaron, I would love to sit down. I was excited with those numbers of workers coming from my district. It's a huge chunk of your workforce. Would love to, sit down with you and make sure that there's nothing that Kathy Schlega and I and others can do to help you out even further to get you even more workers from the Middle River area of Baltimore County.
Absolutely.
Yes. I think we're all excited to see the expansion, especially those of us who are a little farther away. And I echo Delegate Ruth's commentary about maybe it's up to us to get a little better transportation there. Okay, for our last question, Delegate Scott.
Good morning. And Andy, I think this is a.
I'm sorry,
I know
Delegate Phillips. I'm sorry, I'm reading it up in the left-hand corner here. I got you. Sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. I've got two instances because I'm in the office with my suite mate, and one is to see and the other one is to talk. So I have these earbuds in. But anyway, Andy, thank you very much for the presentation. I've been down there on several occasions, well before ever thinking I would be sitting in this seat. And I am the son of a Sparrows Point worker, so I was raised on Bethlehem Steel money. So I appreciate what you're doing down there. My interest, as always, is in the socioeconomic impact of TradePoint Atlantic on the region, but particularly on its people. We've got, the state of Maryland has 30% African American. We're about 40% minority. 40 to 45% minority, and Baltimore County is reflective of that. One of the things that I really want to understand is the demographics, not only of employment down at TradePoint Atlantic, if you could help us understand that, but also ownership, supply chain development. How is this impacting the minority community with $1 billion worth of commerce generated? I just want to understand that. And that may not be something you can answer in any detail today, but I would love to understand that and figure out how we can help you to increase it.
Absolutely. And our workforce demographics, we're going to have to do a little bit more of a deeper dive on some of that specific data as far as our workforce. And that's his data. This is data we collect every quarter. So we're due to collect that again this quarter. So I can see if we can dig a little deeper for that. On the MBE opportunities, we've got what we believe a very robust program here. In fact, a fantastic success story of a lady named Terria Strum, who helped us with our berth refacing, and as a result of the work she was doing here at TradePoint, she was able to grow her business and get a loan to do the next phase of expansion for her family's legacy business. And she's been a true star, and we're really excited about wanting to extend our partnerships. And we've been working with the Maryland Minority Contractors Association for a number of years. And we've just upped our game and brought on Jason Williams and his company to help us, further, introduce our entire kind of contractor suite to MBE businesses and opportunities. So that's a program we're working to get underway. So we can expand that opportunity even further. So it's been a great partnership, and we're looking forward to doing more. But absolutely, we can get some more data for you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron, is there anything like that you could send us in the way of just a one sheet bullet points on that question, maybe, that we could disseminate, if you could do that? I know it's asking a lot, but if you could just answer Delegate Phillips's question in some talking points, and just so we get an idea, and then if he once he reads that, if he and others want to go deeper with you on that, I think that would be great.
Absolutely, we can definitely do that.
Thank you. We'll remind you, but I bet you'll remember without us reminding you, and I thank you very much for that. And now I'd like to thank you both for spending some time with us today. Also, I see your able assistant in the background. We think she looks like one of our delegates. We're not sure. We were all looking real close at the screen. Is that Delegate Love? We're not sure back there. So, but thank you very, very much for coming. We are so grateful to have you. I do want to point out to the delegation that the bill that Mr. Tamarchio cited is not a county bill. It's a statewide bill. It just impacts property in Baltimore County. So we will not be taking it up distinctly in this delegation, but I would urge you all to tell your colleagues to support it in the interest of the state and more parochially of our county. So thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity, everybody. We look forward to visiting with you, and please, love to have you all come out and see firsthand what's going on here.
Okay. All the best to you. We'll stay in contact. I will. The last thing I got to say, I'm sorry, I almost didn't want to. Sometimes when you come to a place, like somebody said years ago, and you see the design, you think it could never look like this, really. This is just an artist's rendition, but you guys are getting up on it. So nice job.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Take care.
Take care.
Okay, so delegation, we're going to move to business. Senators, you're welcome to stay in the room and observe if you like, but you don't have to if that's not an interesting thing for you to do. We're going to move to bill hearings first. We only have one bill on the hearing scheduled today, and that's House Bill 348, Baltimore County School Board Nominating Commission, procedures for filling a vacancy, and that's Delegate Forbes's bill, and I'm going to turn it over to her to explain it to us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, colleagues. Thanks for the opportunity to give testimony about and explain HB 348, which is a bill that streamlines the process for replacing members of the school board when someone has resigned or died or left for any reason. Sometimes when we pass legislation, when it goes into effect, we realize that maybe we didn't speak to everything that needed to be said. Many of you know, prior to 2018, we had a school board that was 11 members appointed by the governor and one student member. And in 2018, for the first time, we elected our hybrid school board. So our school board now has 7 members, all elected by our existing councilmanic districts, and 4 members appointed at large by the governor. The original legislation also created a nominating commission. So the governor chooses candidates for those 4 at-large positions from candidates that are vetted by a nominating commission. And the nominating commission has 19 members, and those members come from every one of our legislative districts and 10 stakeholder groups. And the stakeholder groups are a wide variety, including TABCO, the PTA Council, the League of Women Voters of Baltimore County, the Baltimore County Chamber of Commerce, and the Baltimore County Office of the NAACP. So the original legislation calls for that nominating commission to meet 3 times publicly and explain to the public what the process is to apply for the school board. And then they interview candidates that apply, and they vet them, and they they've currently have sent 8 names to the governor, to Governor Moore, to fill the 4 at-large seats, and we're waiting to hear who he appoints from those 8 names. But early in the hybrid school board's history, about 10 months in, a member of the school board died, and the nominating commission realized they had to go all the way back to the drawing board and start at the beginning again, with 3 public meetings explaining how to apply to be a school board member in 3 different parts of the county, and then vetting all those candidates and sending names to the governor. And the process to replace that school board member took more than 5 months. So the school board nominating commission came to me and asked me to introduce legislation to speak to specifically to one-time vacancies on the school board. And that's what this bill does. So in the process of a one-time vacancy, well, either if it's a councilmatic district vacancy or an at-large position, the nominating commission will meet one time, either in the council district or in Greenwood. But that one meeting will be live streamed and archived. So anyone who wants the information that was shared at that meeting can see it at any time they come into the process. The nominating commission will take all the applications from there and make recommendations to the governor. The bill also allows them to the part that I call building the bench. As we know, the Governor Moore has eight qualified and vetted candidates to consider for these 4 positions. So there are 4 qualified candidates that aren't going to be chosen. This bill also allows the nominating commission to go back with those candidates' permission and ask for them to be considered for the new vacancy for up to 2 years after they were originally vetted. So if I'm happy to answer any questions, I believe Cindy Sexton, who is the chair of the nominating commission, is on the line to speak to why this is necessary legislation. Thank you.
And thank you very much for bringing the bill, Delegate Forbes. Ms. Sexton, you have Tabco right next to your name also. So we know that you have 2 hats on, or maybe one hat that does the same thing. We'd love to hear your reflections on this bill.
Good morning. Thank you. Yes, Cindy Sexton. I am TABCO president and the chair of the School Board Nominating Commission. And TABCO is definitely in support of this bill. As Delegate Forbes said, there have been 2 separate vacancies on the school board since I became part of it when I became TABCO president in 2019. And it did take months for the commission to go through the process and select those names to send to the governor's appointment office. And that just does not serve our students or our educators, our school system, our county. And we definitely like the idea of the building the bench. Those candidates put forth a great deal of time and effort in just applying for the role, and then the interviewing process. It just respects the time of all the involved parties, and it will likely increase our options for filling a vacancy. It can be difficult to find people who are willing to put in all the time that a school board demands. And if these people are willing to do it, let's please keep them on file for those 2 years. It increases the chances that we will have a robust and well-represented school board. And I just thank you for your support on this.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Sexton or the sponsor? Okay, seeing none, that concludes the testimony on House Bill 348. That's the only bill we're hearing today. We're going to move into voting. We're going to start from the bottom of the list and work our way up. The first bill that we will take up for voting will be House Bill 248. This is a liquor license bill. I could read the name, but it's got too many letters in it. And I'm going to turn to the chair of the subcommittee, Vice Chair Jackson. Can you give us a report, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. HB 248, which is Delegate Forbes' bill, would authorize the Board of License Commissioners for Baltimore County to permit license holders to sell beer, wine, and liquor for on-premise consumption at Towson University at university-related events. The Alcohol Subcommittee voted unanimously 4-0 in favor. I ask that you move the bill as favorable.
So I have a motion for favorable on the bill. Is there a second? It can be
Second.
Anybody can do that. Thank you.
Second.
So, okay, we have a second. We have like second, thirds, fourths, and fifths. Appreciate that. Is there any discussion on the bill? All right, seeing none, I'm going to, without objection, take a voice vote or a hand raised vote on this, on the favorable motion. All in favor of the favorable motion, raise your hands, please, or say aye. If there's anyone opposed, everybody else drop your hands. If there's opposition, I need to see a hand for that right now. So Delegate McCaskill and Noraki, I think you were in favor. So if you take your hands down, make sure I can see hands up if there's anyone who's opposed to this bill. Seeing none, this bill, we have a quorum, and this bill passes by unanimous vote of the quorum. House Bill 248, we will send a letter to, I'm sure it's the ECM committee indicating our approval of this. So that concludes the vote on House Bill 248. We now move to House Bill 222, which is the bill that, once again, asks us to allow for coffee sales in the morning. This would be a bill that would go to the Education Subcommittee. So the chair of the Education Subcommittee, Delegate Forbes, do you have a report?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, the Education Subcommittee met on this bill and voted unanimously to move. So I ask you to move favorably on the bill.
Second.
Okay, we have a favorable motion and a second before the favorable motion was recognized. I love the alacrity. And so is there any discussion on this bill? Seeing none, I have a sense that this bill may also be voted on. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, if we're going to take a voice vote of everyone, raise your hand, please, or don't put your hand up on the screen, but just raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
I see a lot of them. If there are anybody who objects to this bill, please do the official Zoom hand raise at this time so I could see it. Going to give a second for tech, but I don't think anything's coming. I see none. We have a quorum present, and so we are going, this vote was passed by a unanimous vote of the quorum. We will send a letter to Ways and Means indicating our support of a favorable motion on this. The third bill is House Bill 210, Baltimore County Board of Education member elections and appointments. This bill also came before the Education Subcommittee. Delegate Forbes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On this bill, which would change the appointment process for the appointed members of the school board, and they would be appointed in presidential years instead of gubernatorial years. 2 times in recent time, we've had a lame duck governor, and when it came time to appoint the appointed members, it has dragged on. So our elected members took their seats in December, but because there's a new governor, our appointed members still haven't been seated. So this bill, thank you, Delegate Ebersol, for bringing it, would fix the problem forever. And the subcommittee voted unanimously to move this bill forward. So I ask that the bill move the bill as favorably.
We have a favorable motion on the bill. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, this is yet another bill where I feel like we could do a voice vote. Raise your hand, please, if you are in favor of this bill. I see plenty of hands. Is there anyone who objects to this bill? Raise your hand on the Zoom link, please, so we can see you. There are none. And so as before, we have a quorum, and this bill is passed by a unanimous vote of that quorum of the Baltimore County delegation. Now we have House Bill 175. This bill came to the Education Subcommittee, and Delegate Forbes, you're up once again.
One more time. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill would give the student member of the school board voting rights on the capital and operating budget. The Education Subcommittee voted 2-1 favorably. So I ask that you move the bill as favorably.
We have a favorable motion. Do we have a second on that favorable motion?
Second.
Second.
I have a second. Is there any discussion?
What was the bill number? I'm sorry.
175. Delegate Bandari, I recognize you have a comment or something, please.
Yeah, I thank the sponsor for bringing this bill again this year and the vibrant debate. The bill passed last year with the amendment from both chambers. After listening to last week's discussion, I initially believed it to be unchanged, which helped the bill pass last year. Upon further review, I discovered that the bill does not contain any amendments from last year. I've submitted an amendment and it is currently in the drafting process. Please note that the bill number and the year 2022 mentioned in the previous bill should be disregarded. I understand that our students are the future. Our responsibility is to equip them with the necessary skill to succeed. And budget training is very crucial for our students to decide on $1 billion budget in the best possible way. By providing them with the proper training, they will be able to learn new things and acquire the necessary skill to make informed decisions. Therefore, I'm here today to bring back the same amendment from last year. The amendment is, Mr. Chair, may I read the amendment or?
I don't know that we need to read it. It has been mailed to every delegate's address. And Justin, if you could just put it up on screen and scroll down to the part that is the new language so people could see it. This is identical. Yeah, just a little farther down, and we'll have to go to the second page a little bit. But basically, the essence of this is that we're going to require the student to get some training in the budget within a couple of months of being appointed. This was an amendment we put on last year. I thought we had printed the bill in the form that it was amended last year. I didn't do as close a reading as I should have. And we all kind of agreed that this was a good idea. So I'm not opposed to this amendment, but I see a couple of questions. So as we take a look at it, my first question was from Delegate Cardin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I love this bill, but didn't the amendment, or didn't we have discussion about whether it should be training for all members? Because there could be people on the board who have very little budget training. I just don't remember. I just very vaguely remember that was part of the discussion last year.
So speaking from personal experience and not as the chair here, I do remember we discussed it, but we decided we would put that on hold, and no one has brought anything like that forward. So we could do that here.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I should let you answer, actually.
The Senate amendment required training for all members of the board, but we had heard in our discussion of it that we weren't actually able to require elected members to have training on the budget before allowing them to vote because they were elected members of the board.
Well, but okay, so, but we could put language in there, at least advising them, number one. Number two is we can always put in there and have it tested if somebody wants to challenge that. Because if the issue is that we want to be careful, I'm just suggesting, I mean, look, I'm not going to do or die on this, but if we're suggesting that a 18-year-old needs to be trained before they can make a decision, then why shouldn't a 21-year-old who might be elected or appointed also have that training, or a 41-year-old who's been an amazing civil servant but never had to actually vote or pass a budget, but happens to be on the school board, also have whatever that training is. It could be a very simple just briefing like we just got yesterday in judiciary on the fiscal implications of the governor's budget.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Delegate Ruth and Delegate Pasteur, but I'm going to say that for procedure, we should consider this amendment first, and then if we want to consider a further amendment to the bill, we can do that next at your suggestion, Delegate Cardin, if that's okay with you. Okay, so Delegate Ruth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Delegate Cardin's question was very similar to mine, but I guess I wanted to ask about whether there would be an option for any other board members who wanted to take this kind of training.
Yes, and we could even put in language where we suggest it, or there could be soft language but not required language if we were interested in that. But as I say, we're going to put a pin in that. But Delegate Pasteur.
Yes, thank you. We had conversations on the board along these same lines. And so once we formed the budget committee for the board, that was one of the things that was done, that we saw as important, that all board members were apprised of some of the fine points of looking at the budget. I asked, and even before this discussion, went back to revisit the idea that there is some discussion of the budget at the training that all board members get prior to the first meeting of the board. And so I do think that this is something that the board and the school system can take on, so that where the amendment is now is fine. It is received positively by the board, so that board members in discussing the budget are not coming from a variety of places in that discussion.
Thank you, Delegate Pasteur. So Delegate Badari has moved an amendment. Do I have a second on the amendment?
Second.
I have a second on the amendment. The amendment only at this point adds in a required training for the student member within a certain period of time of their being appointed to the board. I'm going to take a voice vote on, I'm not a voice vote, I'm going to take a roll call vote on this amendment to be sure that we're accurate. I will warn you that today I'm going to go in alphabetical order, but sometime in the future, I'm going to change it up a little bit. As Delegate Allen points out, he doesn't always want to go first, and I understand that. So, but today we will go in alphabetical order, but we'll start with a vote on this amendment by the Vice Chair. Mr. Vice Chair.
Yes.
I have a yes from the Vice Chair. Delegate Allen.
Yes.
Delegate Bhandari.
Yes.
Delegate Cardin.
I'm sorry, I missed it. I think yes.
We're moving just on the amendment on the student right now.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Delegate Forbes.
Yes.
Delegate Grammer. Delegate Grammer. Delegate Grammer is,
Yes.
yes, he's there. He
I'm
is.
yes.
Delegate Guyton is excused. Delegate Jones.
Yes.
Speaker Jones, I probably should go with. Delegate Long. Delegate Long. We'll come, Delegate Long, are you there, please? Okay, I have no vote from Delegate Long.
Yes.
Oh, there he is. He made it. Delegate Mangione.
Yes.
Delegate McCaskill.
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
Delegate Naraki.
Yes.
Delegate Pasteur.
Yes.
Delegate Phillips.
Yes.
Delegate Ruth.
Yes.
Delegate Stein.
Yes.
Delegate Shalega is excused, and Delegate White.
Yes.
Sorry, I made you go through that. It was a little too easy. All right, so the amendment is adopted. Delegate Cardin, do you want to propose an amendment that we add in training of some sort? We can do it in spirit, and then we can get the amendment drafted.
Yeah, I mean, I would say if we can just add, however the technical way of doing it is, but I would move that we add training to be applied to all and do it in a way that would be artful so that it would not interfere with any constitutional issues based on election of members.
Would it be fair to say that we would like to have an amendment that would recommend training for the other board members?
Sure, if that's
Okay.
the appropriate way of
Something along those lines where we're
Sure.
encouraging them or recommending them to take
Yes.
similar training
That
at the
sounds
beginning of their term. Okay, we have it in spirit, and I'm pretty sure we can get it drafted correctly. This is one where we had differing opinions, so maybe this time it's a little more required. I have a motion on this amendment, but I need a second on it first.
Second.
Okay, I do have a second. All right, so with that, we have a motion, a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, then. Mr. Vice Chair.
Yes.
Okay. Delegate Allen.
Yes.
Delegate Bhandari.
Yes.
Delegate Cardin.
yes.
Delegate Forbes.
Yes.
Delegate Grammer.
Yes.
Where are you? Delegate Guyton is excused. Speaker Jones.
Yes.
Delegate Long.
Yes.
Delegate Mangione.
I'm sorry, I'm just, what was this word? Can you, real quick?
This is a motion to add another amendment that would
Oh, okay.
recommend or encourage other members to get similar
Yeah,
training.
yes, sorry.
Okay. Delegate McCaskill.
Yes.
Delegate Metzger. Delegate Metzger. I see him raise. Put your thumb up if it's a yes, or thumbs down. Do you want to? Okay, got it. I see you. Delegate Naraki.
Yes.
Delegate Pasteur.
Yes.
All right. Delegate Phillips.
Yes.
Delegate Ruth.
Yes.
Delegate Stein.
Yes.
Delegate Shalega is excused, excuse me, and Delegate White.
Yes.
Okay, carried unanimously also. So now we have the bill as amended. It has Delegate Bhandari's amendment, which would require the student to have additional training within a certain period of time of their being appointed, and would encourage or recommend the other members to also get this training at the beginning of their term, not probably each year, but at the beginning of their term. And so is there any further discussion on the bill as amended? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion for favorable on this bill. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
To have a second. All right, this one is also, I know, somewhat, we have differing opinions on it, so we're going to again take a roll call vote on this one. Mr. Vice Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. Delegate Allen.
Yes.
Delegate Bhandari.
Yes.
Delegate Cardin.
Yes.
Delegate Forbes.
Yes.
Delegate Grammer.
No.
Delegate Guyton is excused. Speaker Jones.
Yes.
Delegate Long.
No.
Delegate Mangione.
No.
Delegate McCaskill.
Yes.
Delegate Metzger. A thumb, please, then. Down. Okay, thumbs down. I'm taking that as a thumbs down. Delegate Naraki.
No.
Delegate Pasteur.
Yes.
Delegate Phillips.
Yes.
Delegate Ruth,
Yes.
Delegate Stein,
Yes.
Delegate Shalega is excused. Sorry, I'm reading names. Delegate White.
Yes.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There are 12 positive votes. The delegation moves favorable with amendments. We will send a letter on to Ways and Means as soon as the amendments are properly drafted. If anyone would like to see the amendments beyond the one amendment will be written exactly. The one that Delegate Cardin recommended will require a little language. So we'll let people take a look at it before we send it over. We'll probably get it done in the next couple of days. I thank you all for your time on that one. And we're down to, that concludes the action on House Bill 175. The last bill is House Bill 166. This bill went to community concerns, and that is our chair is Delegate Ruth. Delegate Ruth, do you have a report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe it's community affairs, but
Sorry about that. I know I do that all the time and I get fussed at by the staff here.
No worries. The Community Affairs Subcommittee met and voted unanimously to support this bill, and so I move favorable.
Okay, we have a favorable motion on the bill as written. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing no discussion. Delegate Ruth, did this pass favorably in unanimously in subcommittee? I'm getting a sense
Yes.
of maybe I can do. Okay.
Yes, it was unanimous.
Let's take a risk. Is there an objection to doing a voice vote on this one or a group vote?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, yes, Delegate Long.
Yes, I actually called the lawyer that represents the Baltimore County delegation and asked them for an amendment to amend this bill that will require that whoever lost their lawsuit would have to pay the other's attorney's fees and court costs. And the reason I was asking that was because litigation would be very expensive. And I just want to make sure that whenever this is used, the outcome would be best for either party. When you have this kind of language in a bill where if the party that loses has to pay the other party's attorney fees, it keeps people on a more, let me say, they have a tendency to work things out before it goes to court. And the main theory that I was thought behind this bill was to make sure our communities were protected and all these issues was taken care of. And I think this would just put that much more of a teeth into ensuring that whatever actions were taken would be taken care of before it had to go to court.
Okay, we could discuss this, but do you have the amendment to put before us today, Delegate Long?
I requested it from the attorney from Baltimore. I come into your office twice to get her number. I contacted her yesterday. She said no problem. She'd have it drafted. I haven't seen it.
So it's a little hard for us to conceptualize it without it in front of us. Are you recommending that we hold the bill for a week?
Well, can we have some discussion about how people feel about what I'm proposing? And then if they don't,
right, we could informally gauge interest at this point. And maybe
comment.
Okay, well, hold on. Thank you. I see a hand up. Robin, I don't know, maybe you're on the phone, so I'll put you up next. I've Delegate Ruth with a comment, and then you'll be next, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. So Delegate Long, if I understand right, your amendment would require the losing party to pay attorney's fees. Is that correct?
Yes, for the lawsuit and court costs, yes.
I would certainly strongly oppose that, particularly considering that this bill is intended to help communities that don't have the same kind of resources that other communities do, to where they might not even have a membership dues. So I don't think that it's appropriate to ask those communities to pay attorney's fees, particularly when they might be going against a well-funded, opponent. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Delegate Ruth. Delegate Long?
Yes, I appreciate what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. But on the other hand, if a community association has to file a suit against someone and it does go to court, it could be very costly. And my theory is that if they can take care of the problem before it goes into court, that it would save not only the community association money, but also the owner of the property. This just makes more of a, I've put this in a lot of contracts. Basically, this just keeps everybody honest and gets their attention a whole lot more, because if you feel that you're going to have to go to court and pay the other attorney's fees, it opens your eyeballs. And that's why, I've used this in several contracts, and it's kept me out, kept me dealing with some other people that protected me and protected them. And that's why I proposed this. And on the other hand, what about the homeowners that are in distress that don't have the money to pay an attorney?
Okay, Delegate Long, thank you. And I think that answers Delegate Ruth's question. Delegate Grammer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would recommend that we not do this. And what I would say is that Senator Sidnor and I have been working on this bill for 5 years. This language has passed this delegation and the full House and the full Senate in this form. Attorney's fees, not only is it beyond the scope of the bill, but if you add this to the bill, it would probably kill it. And if it passed with attorney's fees, you'd probably kill any community association that tried to get some kind of relief. So, after 5 years of working on the bill with the same language, it's not a great idea to change it, seeing that we just need to get both chambers on the same page in the same year. So I would agree with Delegate Ruth, and I would not adopt this amendment.
Thank you, Delegate Grammer. Delegate Ruth, I see your hand back up.
Thank you so much. Sorry for the second bite at the apple.
All right.
So I did want to mention in 2021 that this bill passed the full House of Delegates with a vote of 130 to 2. And then the Senate didn't take it up, and it passed, I believe, in this form.
All right. So Delegate Mangione.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Delegate Long, if you can, just really briefly, give an example of how this would work, if so I can better understand it. If maybe you have an example of where this happened, and maybe it would support your position. I'm trying to figure out which way to go. Thank you.
Okay. Give an example. Let's say there's a home that's in disrepair, really falling down, needs to be something done to it. From what I understand, this community association could take and file action against the land owner of the property to bring it up to code. The problem that I have is with this bill is that if the owner of the property is already in this kind of, if the property is already in this kind of shape, are the property owners allowed, are going to be able to, fix the property? Because if they're strapped on cash, it's going to be hard for them to fix the house. And my theory behind this was that, it's going to be very expensive for the community associations to file a suit. And like I said, if this language was in there, I believe it would give the bill a whole lot more teeth. That's my opinion. Because if a homeowner is looking at a lawsuit that's being waged against them, and they're going to have to, if they lose and they know they're wrong, and they're going to have to pay all the attorney fees, they're going to step up to the plate and take care of whatever's got to be taken care of. And on the other hand, what I was a little afraid of in the past, that if an unscrupulous community association, because from what I understand, it only has to be 2 people, and they do not have to be bonded. What if they decided to take a frivolous lawsuit against a homeowner that, for whatever reason? Now the homeowner's got to pay litigation fees for this, and I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but it could happen. I mean, things happen every day that we have to be concerned about. This would also protect the homeowner against fraudulent abuse of the court systems to be able to utilize, take someone's property or whatever actions they're going to take. And that's where I'm thinking of. I mean, I've been in the business for 40 years and I've seen a lot of things happen. Been, real estate for 40 years and I've seen a lot of things happen. I'm like, I can't believe this is happening, but it does happen. So I'm just trying to be proactive. I understand we want to make sure our properties are up to date and taken care of. I get it. Believe me, I see it every day that I go through our community. But I am very concerned about, what I had said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Long. Delegate Grammer, last bite at the apple on this, please.
Yes, very briefly. So keep in mind that this section of code already exists. If you have concerns about it, you should probably sponsor a bill that requires the covering of attorney's fees. But that is outside of the scope of this bill. This bill is about standing, which is precluding anyone, any community association from effectively using this law. And what would happen here is if a community association brought a motion and they're going up against a rich property owner like the Kushners, the community association could likely have to pay the Kushners attorney's fees, which could be hundreds of thousands of dollars and is against the spirit of the bill. So again, I'd recommend.
Hey, thank you, Delegate. Delegate Long, we could look at the vagaries of this, but my question to you is, are you making a motion to table this bill to consider this amendment? Because we don't have it in front of us. Are you making that motion?
I would like to, yes.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to table this bill until a future delegation meeting. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Okay, I have a second on that motion. So I think probably I'm going to have to do a voice vote. I mean, a roll call vote on the motion to table because there are differing feelings about it. So here we go. I'm going to ask the vice chair, please, to vote first on that.
Yes.
He votes to table. Vote yes means we're not going to move on the bill this week, that we will table it to consider this amendment in the future. Delegate Allen?
No.
No. Delegate Bendari?
Yes.
Delegate Carden?
So if I vote no, that means I want to vote on this bill right now.
We would, if we didn't table it, right, if this vote goes down, we will move on the bill. We will move on the bill, on the motion on the bill, yes.
I'm voting no.
Okay. Delegate Forbes?
No.
Delegate Grammer? Delegate Grammer, I'm assuming you're a no, given your commentary, but it'd be nice to hear you say it. Is he lost? Did we lose Delegate Grammer? Okay, that's a technical error, so I don't like to come back, but we're going to come back. I'm gonna make a guess on this one. Delegate Guyton is excused. Speaker Jones?
No.
No. Delegate Long, I'm assuming your connection is a little weak, but I'm assuming you are a yes to table because it's your motion. Delegate Mangione?
Yep. Tough when I share an office with one and I sit next to the other, but I'm going to say yes.
Okay, we're gonna yes to table. Delegate McCaskill?
No.
Okay, not to table. Delegate Metzger? There is no vote from Delegate Metzger. I don't see him here either at this time, and I don't know.
He's voting no.
Down.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have to look at him. I forgot. Thank you. Delegate Naraki?
Yes.
Delegate Pasteur?
No.
Delegate Phillips?
No.
Delegate Ruth?
No.
Delegate Stein?
No.
Delegate Shalega is excused. Delegate White?
No.
Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4
Mr. Chair?
votes yes. The
Mr.
motion
Chair?
fails. Yes, Delegate Ruth.
Delegate Grammer is back.
Okay, Delegate Grammer, I'm assuming you're a no on this?
Yes, sir.
To table for a week, yes?
Table for a week, I would vote
So
no.
we have, okay, that's what we asked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positive votes for tabling. That motion does not carry. We will not table the bill for a week to consider the amendment. All right, now.
Mr. Chair, excuse me, Mr. Chair. Even
Yes,
though
ma'am.
you're counting, and that's my job, I needed to hear
Okay. Would you
Delegate
confirm my count?
Grammer. I needed to hear what Delegate Grammer said. I couldn't understand it. Did he say yes or no?
Delegate Grammer voted no.
Thank
Did not
you.
want to table the bill. Delegate
Thank
Pastor, what's the count, please? Let's go to you. What is the count of positive votes on this bill?
The yeses were 6. The noes were 10.
Okay, 6 is not enough, is not a majority of the quorum of this body, and so the motion to table is not moved. So now this will enable us to vote on this bill as written. So we have a motion from the committee on HB 166 favorable. I may have gotten a second on it already, but just to be safe, I'm going to call for a second on it.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Is there any further comment on the bill without regard to the amendment? Okay, seeing none, I'm gonna go ahead and take a roll call vote on this. Delegate Pasteur, if you would be so kind as to keep track of that as well. So
Thank you so much.
I forgot that you were up on that. I appreciate that. So on HB 166, the motion is favorable. Mr. Vice Chair.
Yes.
Delegate Allen.
Yes.
Delegate Bhandari.
Yes.
Delegate Cardin.
Yes.
Delegate Forbes.
Yes.
Delegate Grammer.
Yes, thank you.
Delegate Guyton is excused. Speaker Jones. We may have lost her. She has a busy day. We'll hold.
She's there. I think it's frozen.
Okay, we'll hold. I do see her there. We'll get it. We'll pick her up in a second. There she is. Speaker, do you want to vote yes on this bill? Put a thumbs up or thumbs down since you're. There you are.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, yes.
Sorry.
Delegate Long. Delegate Long. On the bill, Delegate Long.
I'm trying. Yes.
Okay. Delegate Mangione.
Yes.
Delegate McCaskill.
Yes.
Delegate Metzger. Oh, where I gotta look at him. Where is he? There he is. Delegate Naraki.
Yes.
Delegate Pasteur.
Yes.
Delegate Phillips.
Yes.
Delegate Ruth.
Yes.
Delegate Stein.
Yes.
Delegate Shalega is excused. Delegate White.
Yes.
All right. I could go to you, Delegate Pasteur, but I think we have among the present members of the quorum, we have a unanimous vote. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Excellent. Okay, so this bill we will also send on to committee with a favorable report from the delegation. That concludes our business today. Is there anything for the good of the order that someone wants to let us know? All right, then you've got a little over 35 minutes to get to session. Have a cup of coffee and we'll see you there. We are adjourned.